Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures. Went to the local game store, hobby shop, which I have to say admittedly has been quite a few months since I've had a chance to go over there, be it one reason or another, but I did finally make it. And what was supposed to be a routine trip to just pick up some decent, sealer sprays, because if you've watched my Monday videos, you know I'm constantly complaining about that. Well, we ended up with something that we weren't expecting because I'd completely forgot this kit came out. And these are the World Eaters Jakhals. Jakhals, whatever. Anyway, I could not resist the fact that we've got a bunch of crazy people with rebreather, helmet, bondage gear, studs, spikes, chains, what have you, skulls, and multiple chainsaw blades. How can I turn that down? I can't. I couldn't. Now, I mean, they are obviously for the World Eaters, so they have a lot of Khorne iconography on them. If you wanted, I'm sure you could absolutely just slash and scratch those up. Maybe they're an ex-Khorne warband. I'll be honest, my first thought, this is like prime grade A Necromunda fodder. Look at these dudes. I mean, they're like wannabe Goliaths. These dudes are Goliaths, practically. I mean, like I said, you just get rid of that belly plate, replace it with something else, you're good to go. They're like perfect corpse grinders. I mean, the corpse grinders are all running around with, chain weapons and junk. And what's interesting is it seems that we are going to have some optional builds, because it says the variation right there. That's the only one I can read. I don't know if that just means heads or if that's weapons, because he's got like that's for the guy with the big bonking skull club mallet ball of death. You can replace that with a little hand saw thing. And it looks like it's a different head. This dude right here, I'm going to say he's like a champion type dude, for lack of a better descriptor. But you can see he's got a top knot there, and he's got the metal Goliath mohawk rocking on that one. He doesn't look as big as this guy, though. This guy's on a big base. I wonder what size that is. I don't know. But you get 10 of them in a box. That's kind of cool. And I mean, if you really wanted to get rid of this and put something else in his hand, you can, eliminate the Khorne aspect of a lot of this, then I think you're going to be in really good shape. If that's what you have in mind. I mean, that's what I got in mind. I mean, they're totally joining my Goliaths and corpse grinders, whose name I couldn't remember for a long time. Yeah, we have no need for you. Get out of here, decals. Jakhals. Jakhals. I was just watching some Sentai show. They had like some old 80s when they had like a Jakhals. Jackal. So see, check it out. Totally different heads. I'm assuming that's the same body. Totally. Hey, you can even build it without the Khorne buckle. And I mean, getting rid of the Khorne logos on the chainsaws, chain swords, I don't even know what they're called anymore, is easy enough. Totally looks like some kind of a Goliath tooth. Actually, that head looks too small for that muscular of body, but I digress. I like how some of them have like the double-handed ones. That's kind of cool. Maybe it's just him. I don't know. Alright, so right off the top of the bat, we've got plenty of optional heads. You can see here we have optional arms, and just about everything that they can equip is going to be an option. Okay, that's kind of cool. Just like they showed on the box. I wonder if you have the option to get rid of the chains or the drug packs. Oh, hey, check it out. We don't even have to use the Khorne icon. So if you really wanted to go all in on just having a bunch of chain sword wielding nut jobs in the underhive, you could do that. Music to my ears. And it looks like just about every single body has their choice. Heads are all compatible, arms are all compatible. I'm kind of impressed. It's been ages. I don't even know how to read these stat lines anymore. They've got rid of words. They went the war cry on us. I don't know what that's all about. That's okay. Like I said, more than likely, they're just going to end up in Necromunda or something anyway. So that is a 40mm base. If you wanted to use him, like I said, as a Goliath, it might be Something to think about. And what are these? I should know my base sizes. They're not 25 millimeters. I know that much. Or are they? Maybe. Why don't I just open it? That would make sense, wouldn't it? Okay. So we know at least the ash waste guy is like on a 20. Does it say? And I don't know. This says 30. Is that what they're referencing as the size? GW ones are... Anyway, maybe it's one of those 28 millimeters. I don't know. They're like regular human sized. How about that? I'm desperately searching for like a Goliath handy. Are you on the same base? No, these are smaller. Okay. But the Goliaths, I think, are on like 32s, aren't they? That sounds right. This isn't a Goliath, I know that. Speaking of Goliaths, I want to get one of their bikes. One of these days I'm going to get a bike. The Maulers or Marauders or whatever they're called. Alright, so right off the bat we can see that these sprues are totally different. That's kind of nice to see. And there's a lot of stuff there. Of course, there are 10 guys in a box, which I feel is a fair amount. And I know for you converters, I mean, this is just going to be like a field day of goodies. Okay, there's our big boss dudes. Cod piece. Maybe he is ex-Goliath, I don't know. But I'm just like, all these extra hands and blades, if I don't end up using them all, I hope there's extras. I so hope there's extras. But it would be just like modern GW to not let me have all those extra chain swords. Because look, outside of like one or two of them have the Khorne icon. There's nothing on the blades themselves other than a bunch of like, you know, messed up runes. And I want to say like some of the corpse grinders already have, you know, chaos 8-way stars. It's not like we don't already have like the Lord of the Eightfold Path hanging around somewhere on my shelf. Or not. I'm looking and I don't see him. Maybe he got put away. He's probably hanging out with like Ajax and Gorshiv. So you could just see there is a ton of chain blades. Just chains in general. This is like the most metal looking kit that I think GW have released in some time. Okay, there's the big giant one. I got to use that giant one. That one needs to get used. I mean, yeah, you can build them with 2, but if I build them with this, then I can have extra hands and extra blades. So even better, right? Right. Okay, so I'm going to stop talking for a moment. I'm going to get these guys built, and let's see how they turn out and just how nice possible corpse grinding Goliath types they're going to make, because I have no intention of playing 40k proper anytime soon. So sit tight. All right, our Jakhals have been put together. And while they do need a little bit of cleanup, as is always the case with me, pretty happy with how they turned out, actually. I'm really liking these guys and girls. And they are quite modular, despite the kind of preset area where the hands are, at least the heads and the weapons. You do have some choice as to how those all go together. One of my disappointments, though, is that a lot of them are in these dashing, running poses, and I'm not a big fan of that. I got to clean that backpack tank there on that one. I want to say there were a smattering of blades left in the end, while the instructions have certain weapons with certain bodies. I don't see that in practice being really all that important. I didn't have enough of the arms that they recommended or they showed, and I just kind of went to town, and I don't see any issues, and especially the fact that the chains from the backpack need to connect to the arms. You know, I was just grabbing random hands, and that didn't seem to be much of an issue, so that's a good sign. I do like the fact that even though I'm not a fan of these poses, per se, they do have at least something extra next to their foot just to give them a little bit more traction and stability on that base. Yeah, it needs to be cleaned up there. Again, I think this set is a gold mine of conversion possibilities. I mean, considering everything is going to be attached at that wrist, if you just want to snip off, part of that handcuff, stick whatever hand in there, you've got instant, messed up metal juves for whatever gang you wish them to be. I mean, obviously, if you just want to trim off those Khorne symbols, you're good to go. Here's our one optional guy. I did have to go ahead and build him with the big blade. There is an option, and that's why there was a couple leftover weapons, actually, if you wanted to go the dual weapon route with him. This one I made a mess on. I'm going to have to get that all scraped and cut down there. It's funny that actually, despite all of the chain blades these guys and girls are wielding, they're all pretty different from each other, actually. In terms of, like, just the ornamentation of the blades themselves. Those gas masks they're wearing are quite an interesting touch. I mean, just they're nondescript clothing for the most part. Again, you get rid of those Khorne symbols and the chaos parts. I mean, even the chaos markings on their blade with the runes, why not? It's the underhive. They're doing what they can to survive. I mean, this figure itself, you can use it for whatever. I mean, it would fit in just about any gang. Paint him up in Warlock colors, even. Some kind of vat-fed berserker, I don't know. I like this guy. A trophy rack. I mean, you can use this as some sort of a pit fighter with those blades on their arms. You can do all sorts of things with these characters, I think. In the big boss man, I did end up opting with the ball and chain full of skulls that my glue just exploded out on. Was it some of them have these like wire connections on their heads, some of them do not. He is profoundly larger than the others, obviously being on a larger base. These were those 28mm bases, by the way, and he's on a 40. I mean, he's big, but he's not like, well, he's pretty close to an ogre. I don't have any Ogren, so, but I mean, you want to stack him up with an actual Goliath, I don't see much difference in size there. And if you wanted to grab something like Ajax, you're going to probably see a little bit difference in the bulk. Hell, you can have Ajax leading them, right? Guys like Gorshiv here. I think some of these modern Forge World characters, they're not like, that's interesting, overtly chaos looking. I mean, they look like they could be. I mean, they're already wielding ridiculous weapons. He's already got his chain blade. Why not have a bunch of these guys running around as whatever kind of juves you want to use them as, or I forget what the new term is for the low-ranking people of Necromunda, but I mean, sure, you could just use them for cultist fodder. I think there's a lot of potential here. I honestly would be kind of tempted to get a second box just to see what I could do with it. I'm going to be keeping my eyes peeled on what ends up in the consignment case, especially as some of the local shops have very flavor of the week players that like to pick up, whatever the new hotness is and just as quickly dump it. So I'm going to be keeping my eyes peeled, I'll tell you that much. Revving, let's find somebody who's got their feet actually on the ground. None of you are standing actually upright, though. So these figures are a little bit bigger than a typical Necromundan human. Grab an Orlock. But, when you're fueled by the power of rage and chaos, I guess it's going to excuse you if you're growing to a little bit ridiculous proportions. Grabbing some other figures. I don't have much in the way of modern 40k. That's a shame in some ways. They do have some neat stuff every now and then. Grabbing some Ash Waste and War Games Atlantic cannon fodder. Again, I feel like there's a lot of potential for this set, especially if you just want to go and mix and mash pieces together and see what happens. I don't know, those chain weapons are a little bit too ornate, I feel, for Khorne guys. And the girls are a little bit too intense, I feel, for the Escher vibe. But Goliaths, my boys. At least the Marine is still larger. But overall, I'm pretty pleased with these. I think with a basic, simple paint job, you know, that is generic and nondescript enough, you can use them for just about anything. And that is absolutely what I intend to do. And again, there's no super outward chaos markings on the actual figures themselves. This guy with the gut plate and loincloth does have a Khorne flavored one. I went with the more generic 8-pointed star version. And again, these bling on their blades are easy enough to trim off. So it's something to think about. Definitely something that's going to, I feel like, get a lot of usage depending on what kind of games you play. But I feel like, for me, this is definitely going to end up as an Necromunda fodder. And hopefully, you guys are going to find some uses for these guys. And girls, too. So, with that said, then, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye!